All right. I think we have done it. Let's get ourselves over. I'm going to move this to the other screen because we've got like 3 screens going on over here.
Fantastic. Let me know which page am I looking at to share. And hello, everybody. If you're out there in Facebook land, we want to share this.
You know what? The one thing that always kind of drives me crazy with the multiple screens is I lose my mouse.
That's funny.
Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to the International Women in Business Mastermind. I am your host, Miss Vihil Vigil, and I am so excited to be joining you and bringing to you this fantastic program. So we've been hosting International Women in Business Masterminds for, I want to say, close to 4 years now. And every month we get to speak with phenomenal women who have some great insights to share and who share with us their business, their lives, their personalities. This amazing, guest speaker that we have today, I've gotten to feature previously, and I love her dearly. She is a friend. She is a phenomenal, powerful woman who is creative, who is eclectic, who has so much great intention about the way that she is designing her life and her businesses. And it is a great pleasure to be welcoming our special guest today, Miss JO Welch from now it's jowelch.com. I will update all the links.
Yeah. And my company is called Ask Joe. And so I have multiple features under that, as I think like a lot of you out there, multi-entrepreneurs. I have several businesses. I have a career, especially when you become a woman of a certain age. It's like, everything, my quote is, everything is possible. What we've got left is choice. So I'm choosing to enjoy my life and run and do so much right now.
I love it so much. And no excuses. Finish your will now.
Protect
your family with a boss level legacy. I love it.
Guess why I'm a boss? Why am I a boss?
Not only is JO Welch the assistant editor of Boss Latinas Anthology, she is one of the featured authors in the book. And we are so excited to be continuing that book tour. We've had several book tour stops here in the Pacific Northwest, and I'm super excited to get planning going on for an East Coast tour in 2024.
Amen. Amen. I am 100% on board with that.
Love it so much. So welcome everyone to the International Women in Business Mastermind. Our goal here is to talk with you about all things women's empowerment, information, education, resources, and we do that by featuring phenomenal women who are business owners in their own right, boss women in their own right, and they're really wanting to share what they are creating and what they have created, how they've created it with us. So we get to know about the person, we get to know about the professional, and we get to know about the business owner, and then they get to tell us the amazing business that they have and that several of the businesses that they've created. Today, our topic of discussion really is, how are you going to maintain your family's level of lifestyle of living? How are you, because so many of us like to control everything, how are we going to control how our family can benefit from our lives long after we have passed? And I think that is, I try to flip the introduction on that because I want to frame it in lots of different ways. JO is famous for being our will fairy, WILL fairy, because one of her primary offerings is to make sure that your legacy is being protected. And I really wanted to hear from her today. As we're going into the end of this year, we're in the 4th quarter. A lot of us start doing a lot of planning for 2024. I think it's so crucial that we do an audit of everything that we have going on personally and professionally, and how can we be even better in the coming year. So thank you so much, JO, for joining me today. It is such a great pleasure to have you on.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. Vihil, you're one of my dearest friends. We have connected through business. We have been there for each other. We're growing our businesses. And with that, I just want to say hi to all the Latinas out there, anybody who has grabbed our book, anybody who comes from wherever it is that you come from. We're all here together because we know that the way, there's a lot of adages in small business and entrepreneurial world. And one of them is how you do anything is how you do everything. And that is a big framework for why I created the business I did. My name is JO Welch. I'm known as the Beneficiary's best friend. And that's because when I'm talking to entrepreneurs, small business owners, we are also mothers, parents, family members. We have a larger infrastructure, or I love the word ecosystem, around us. And we are working so hard. We're focused on the business. How can I make sales? How do I do this? How do I do that? And all of it is valid. You need the mindset, you need the media, the social media, the thinking of the client's journey. But the one thing that we overlook, and I think this is also, it's just easier and easier every day, is that we don't think about what we're leaving behind. We're only thinking about what we're building. And so for me, what I did is I created a program for busy entrepreneurs and people like you so that you can put a little break into the crazy, right? Put a little moment, have a chance to start shifting your mindset and understanding what is that will, why are we doing it? What are we really saving? What's the point? But then the next steps are, let's get it finished, because even a basic will, even at its more basic, is going to make such an impact for your family in the future. And Vihil, as you mentioned, we're thinking about not only what we're doing now, but I want to go back a generation and how are they leaving their estates to us? Because I'm letting you know now, without a will, without the proper documents, without setting expectations, that's going to fall on you and your siblings and your people in your life. I've got people I've been interviewing who have been working on their estates for over 3 years for their parents. Over 3 years, they've put their entire career on hold. And very often we're not thinking about those kind of impacts. And then, of course, the next step is, how do we then leave that same blueprint, right? Which is what we want from our older generation, that blueprint. We need to update it and create one for our younger generation so that they can move on and also be prepared. So with that, I don't know if you grew up like me. This is kind of the big picture here for me and why I'm doing this. I grew up believing that everybody else had money, wealth. My parents are immigrants from Colombia. I'm a first generation American. And for me, that meant that I belonged everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
Yeah.
They came, right? They came from another country. They had different expectations. They were learning the system of America and what that meant when I was growing up. I'm a Gen Xer, so we didn't have technology in this way. And then I'm also American and growing up in this infrastructure and the speed in which we do things. And for me, that created a lot of discord. I figured that a lawyer and wealth and wills, those are for rich people, right? Like I put that in my mind that that's for somebody else. And as a result, again, it goes back to this one word. It's really just a blueprint. And so that's my mission. My mission is to come to places like this and make sure that everybody has that blueprint in hand and look at your will as a living document. It travels with you from the previous generations to you, through you to the future generations. So that's why I wanted to be here. I want you guys to go to joewelch.com and start to find out about the book and the summit that's coming up. And with that, this interview. So let's dig in.
Thank you so much for being here. I like the way that you said it. Your will is a living document. It's what I try to teach my coaching clients, that their business plan, their marketing plan, they are all living documents. It's not something, it's a one and done. It's something that is put into place as a responsible person that you are, a responsible businesswoman that you are, to make sure that your legacy is protected, to make sure that your hard work that you are so passionate about, that you spend late nights up tweaking the website for, creating new products for, that it's not just all left by the wayside, when you are no longer here to control every facet of it. And as you shouldn't be controlling every facet of it, it's kind of like, putting into place these, amazing people to help you run your business. What are you going to put into place to help your family continue to benefit from all of your hard work long after you have passed away? And I know, coming from also, a Latin-based culture, we are Native American and we are Spanish, and my grandmother was half Croatian, and the conversation around wills was only for the sick and the dying and the extreme elderly of the family.
Right. Absolutely.
And it wasn't something that we would talk about in our 20s, 30s, and 40s. It was more like, okay, this person is now getting sick and they might not be making it through this sickness. Now let's put a will in place for them.
And for those of you who are out there and you're chiming in online, how many of you have that kind of thinking? Oh, I'm going on a big trip. Oh, somebody's sick, right? Oh, I'm coming into some money. Like there's only like this catastrophic level of either go right or go left. And I'm going to tell you right now, I blame Batman.
Yeah. Tell us why.
And my point is that what we see in the media, what we see in movies and in stories is wealth at this nth degree that is beyond the average person, right? The idea of a lawyer is something that I grew up not believing that I could afford. It's some guy behind a desk with lots of dark oak, right, around them, usually holding some sort of sheet of paper, and then this massive family waiting to see if you get the boat or the ranch, or you know what I mean, or the family jewel box or whatever. Like these things seemed, and they create such a narrative that is out of our scope. I go, my parents came from another country. They took a branch off their family tree and planted it here. I'm the first tree. My brother and I are the first part of the tree. We're just trunk and little leaves. And so that was not me. That was not me. And so we need that representation more of just what does a will do? A will says your property and what you want done before you die and after you die, and who is going to make those determinations. Now, I'll also say that with this world, people are like, do I need a trust? Do I need a this? Do I need a that? And I'm going to go back to those business adages, because a lot of what I do is through that lens of entrepreneurship, is that a confused mind does nothing. So if you think you need everything, you're going to end up with nothing. And so what I have decided is that Finish Your Will Now, and the movement that I'm starting, is simply about getting your basic will done. Make sure that the people in your life who need control over your name, your assets when you pass, or if you're in the hospital, God forbid, have the ability to do it. Don't put more barriers in their way. Now, it's only the first step, understandably, but that is the first step of many. And when you have that in place, at the very least, they can at least do something, right? Close down your Facebook account, find where your bank accounts are, make the argument that you're going to do X, Y, and Z in your behalf. And without that, it costs you money. It costs them money.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about people say, well, if you don't control your assets when you pass away, the government will. Let's talk about a little bit about what that is. But let's lift that veil. I've heard a lot of words like probate being thrown around.
So do you know what probate is?
I do not know what probate is.
Okay. We're going to back up and say that a will is a legal document. And that's the thing we want to remind people. It's a legal document, which means that based on your state, if you're in the United States, if you're in other countries, there's going to be a whole other system. But based on your state, where you are, based on your marital status, which is also a legal relationship, you guys, if two people have come together and they've created an official marriage, then they have, in essence, signed a contract. At its core, like all the unromantic stuff, at its core is you've made an agreement that the two of you are doing certain things in a certain way. If you've had previous marriages that have been broken up and dissolved or have come back together, or maybe you have a business. So I'll even include, like, maybe you have business partners from the past. Anything that's been created in those ways have their own rules. Businesses, you don't want to put that in the will, but you need to have the correct paperwork on how to determine what happens to that when you pass, if something's going on, especially if you have partners, if you've got previous spouses, right? So just at the core level, we're saying, oh, right, laws, like doctors, have specialties. And so you have to make sure that the lawyer's right, that the person who's dealing with it is looking at the right lens. And then from there, we're then moving on to, okay, now that I've got this going, what is going to make it easy for the family to be able to move forward? Or depending on how the things are left, you might have to go to court, and then the judge is going to decide. Now, the most important thing of all of this is you have to remember, I'm not an attorney. Can you say that back to me, please, Vihil? Joe,
You
you're
are
not
not
an
an
attorney.
attorney. Joe, you
I'm
are
not
not
an
an
attorney. You know what I am? I'm not the will attorney. I'm the will fairy. And so what I do is I come and I'm keeping you accountable. I'm talking to you about the thought process. I'm talking to you about those barriers and saying, great, let's make sure we get an expert on board. Let's go with, if you have certain things in place, this falls out of the legal system, meaning because this is in place, you can just move forward with your life and do what you got to do. But once you go into the legal system and some things require that, then the law is going to decide how things work. Now, you might be hoping I'm going to give you some sort of secret about your family. I'm telling you all right now, I'm not going to. What I'm going to say is that when you're in that system, if you haven't put enough in place to be clear about what's going to happen, then they're going to follow the letter of the law, which might mean reaching out to other family members. It might mean giving permission and authority to someone you don't want, doing X, Y, and Z, doing X, Y, and Z. I bring the example of, if you had a previous marriage that has been divorced, you wrote one will, and that was in 1999, right? Because you were married back when you were young, and you said, oh, well, we're divorced now, and now you're remarried, you have a blended family. If that's the only will in existence and someone brings that forward, that is the only will in existence. So the determinations from that may or may not include your current family. And again, because I'm not an attorney, I would say the things that come to mind around troubleshooting that would be, okay, there might be some laws about current, but I don't know what that is. And so everything will now go through the court, and then they have to, in their schedule, in their time, figure that out. So just the idea of whether it's probate or having to go through the legal system because we didn't do enough to get through it, check those boxes.
Set the guidelines up.
That might mean 6 months. That might mean a year. That might mean that if you're waiting for a life insurance policy or something that's going to go into place for your children, that might not go into place. So we're not thinking about all of those barriers as money. How much is your time worth? Vihil, how much is your time worth? If suddenly, you have a child under the age of 18, who's making determinations for you? For some people, it may not be your family. Especially when we look at LGBTQ, our trans families, our POC trans people that are out there who may be, unfortunately not welcomed in their family, and not have that relationship. You might want somebody who is able to address it because they've been your best friend. They've been the person who's been going through your life with you. And then that moment comes, and now your mom is making that decision. And now your siblings are making those decisions. So again, it's so many things. And the cost is not just money, it's not just time, but for some people, it might be your dignity. It might be the choices you've made in your life. Right. And so that's where the cost comes in. It's not just probate. It's that once it's in the system, because we didn't do something we could have done in 15 minutes, in a couple weeks, now the whole entire thing is left in someone else's hands, and you're not here to tell anybody what your wishes are. Right. So it's going to be handled through someone else's lens. Yeah, you don't have that say over, how your estate is being handled. Who wants that say? Do you guys want that say? Do you want the say over how your estate is being handled? I definitely want to have that say. Right? Yeah. Say yes in the chat. Please go ahead and let us know, because that's what, and again, I am at the first step of the process to get your will done. From there, it goes on to all the other stuff. Like maybe you do need a trust. Maybe you need a more complicated will. Maybe you definitely need durable power of attorney. So someone who knows what your medical wishes are. We have a lot of friends who don't want certain things to happen if they were to go to the ER, for example. Right? Right. They don't want extreme measures. Some faiths do not want blood transfusions. But let me tell you, the ER has one job. What is that one job?
Save your life.
Save your life. Can you all put that in the text? Save your life. What does the ER do? Save your life.
Save your life.
And if there's nothing that intervenes, if there's no one with a legal document that says this person has granted me the authority to speak on their behalf because they can't, they will save your life, and they will, in fact, put blood into you if that's what they think it requires until someone stands there. So just like that, you talk about cost, like that for some people, that is a catastrophic shift in their faith, in their belief, in their relationship with God. Like that's a big element. And we don't think about that as cost. And what I'm saying is that is what the cost is by not finishing.
I think some also think of the task as being so extremely daunting that it's beyond, just very simple comprehension, that it's too difficult. It's going to cost me so much money. I know that we've just gotten speaking about, the extensive, flowing costs that, that can come up during, a situation where you're needing these legal documents. So people will not go forward with getting the foundation set because they're like, it's going to cost so much money. I'm going to have to spend thousands of dollars speaking to an attorney. Let's talk about how much it does not cost. Like we could go back and forth between the cost of not having it and the cost of actually having it. Let's kind of open the veil a little bit and for less than $100, could I get my will?
So that's a great question. My advice is always going to be to find an expert. So you want someone who has the expertise in your state, where you reside, who is has a state experience to be able to look at those, especially if you have more complicated issues. You want to make sure, because the oversight on that can also create a lot of havoc.
Right.
Under $100, I don't know. I do know that there's a lot of DIY, and I'm how you get your expert is I'm agnostic. I do have certain affiliations. I have a month, this great service that I use that allows me to use legal services, and ask those questions and get my will done every year. And that comes out to under $400 a year, and you get a lot more with that. Some people have friends and family in their world who are attorneys, as long as they are estate attorneys and are going to do the due diligence. If you have nuances,
right,
and they're licensed in your state, then that's a way to do it. You might be looking locally. And so, I know that some of our coaches in the entrepreneurial world have plans and forms, and there's a lot of DIY encouragement out there. So the question is, what's at stake? And the next question is, can you agree with me that getting an expert, an attorney to look it over is a valuable measure to make sure that you don't do this for naught? If you do all this and you were incorrect about some assumptions, how this works, where this goes, you're not saving anybody any time. So for me, the expert is critical in that. And also, I think that we can do it affordably for low money. So in the under 500, especially if it's a basic will, you should be able to do it in that framework, and certainly reach out to ask me what my thoughts are and how we can negotiate that. What I will say is, if you're going to be finding your own attorney, it takes a little questioning. How much are they charging? What happens if you need to make changes? Does it include you and your partner, your spouse? What if you need extra time to do some questions? How long is that turnaround? Those are critical, because we think, oh God, I've already kicked this can down the road. Like, what difference does it make 6 more months? But I'd say is we don't know if tomorrow's promised.
Right. You never know what tomorrow is going to bring or not bring. And so let's not only plan for goals, let's plan for life. Let's plan for things that we, as best we can, that we might not suspect. Let's get our measures in place as business owners, as moms, as individuals with products and services that we are putting out into the world. How can we protect those things, and how can we make sure that we are setting ourselves up for the greatest level of success and allowing our families to really benefit from those things that we are creating, that we are producing.
100%. I do want to just, before we move on to another topic, I do want to add, do you have pets? Sometimes people put the will off because they're like, I don't have children. I don't have anything. I don't have property. And I just want to back that up a little bit and just go like, the fact that we're all sitting here seeing each other, with her in mountain time, me in Eastern time, you wherever you are in the world, it is evident that almost everybody has at least $1,000 worth of telecommunication tech, right? At its core.
Exactly. Yeah.
At least,
just
right?
Just the phone alone is, could easily be more than $1,000.
And if you only have one in your family, that might be the case. But I know that that's not real in my world. Like I have an adult child. My husband has his own business. I'm sitting here at my setup with lights. And so those are definitely infrastructure costs that come with having a business and wanting to be online. But the question is, why do we not see that value? Right? Why do we not see that as having something? Right.
How could we not protect those things?
Well, it's not about the things. It's somebody else has to deal with it. Like if you, I do, because I do this, I've been doing some estate stuff. I helped someone with her mom had gone to assisted living. And so she had a full storage and an apartment that needed to be downsized. So the apartment is almost clean. And going item by item and pulling out all these things, like she might have nothing, or it might be perceived as not having anything. And I'm using air quotes for anyone who's listening. But the reality is that we have a life lived. I'm going to ask you this question. Who do you trust to clear your browser history? That's my favorite question in this day and age, because without a will, it's going to be your mom.
Right.
Or your partner, if you have a partner, but like it's going to be some, or your children who are tech savvy. Like someone is going to go through your computer, because where are all your passwords? How do they even know what you do? Like this relationship, I will tell you that every day I'm always thinking like I need to be even more thorough with my information, because every day in this community, I'm meeting more and more people who don't live in my vicinity, who have never met my family, because these relationships, especially because of online, are far. I have international friends. I know people on almost every continent because of business. And some of them are my business partners. Do I have a list to be able to tell my family, by the way, God forbid I were to go in the hospital, Vihil will want to know. In fact, she'll be mad at me from behind the grave that I didn't say something to my family. And this is the whole mindset shift, is that we've been thinking of it as a death letter or a death sentence, right? And instead it is a success inventory. The will as a life, right? The will as a living document, not a death document.
I like the success inventory.
I thought you would.
I do. If you put on that mindset, I think that is going to help you, for all of our listeners, to start that list of the things that you've created. What are your successes? Like, grab a piece of paper, grab your tablet, start making that list of all of the things that you've created, all the successes that you can account for. It's a starting point, for you to be able to determine, what do you want to protect your family from having to go through? Pets, passwords, online accounts, plants. I know.
Do you have couture? Do you have clothing that you love that you would want to make sure went, like, suppose if you didn't have children, that you would want to go somewhere? Are you a legacy, meaning maybe you've done so, you're the first doing something, and that you want that to go to your university, for example? Or, what are your decisions? I think we don't think about this. What are your decisions if you were to suddenly go to the hospital and can't speak for yourself? And I want to share a story, which is a big impetus for me. It has a couple different parts. One is, I have this dear friend, Tony, and I have permission to share this story. Tony one day called 911 on himself, and he has his Nest. So he saw himself later walk to the ambulance, and then was in a coma for 31 days.
Wow.
Right? He's my age. He went into the coma. And then all of a sudden, I work in the deaf community. I'm a sign language interpreter. I'm Latina, so I speak Spanish. And he and I are friends. We also have the deaf blind world. We have all these people in common. And I knew that his reach, he's incredibly generous with his time. And I know that he's such a good guy. Like, he had this enormous reach. And all of a sudden, I watched it start to bubble. People are like talking, and I'm like, nope. So I have a program where I set up a Facebook page specifically for the people that want to know more. And I set very clear rules in it. Only positive messages, positive images. I would be the only conduit of information until either a family member or someone close to the family stood in to deliver information. And for 31 days in 3 languages, I delivered all this. What's going on? What do we know?
Wow.
Nothing has changed. He woke up at 31 days, found out he had this We Love Tony site, and just watched 700 people love him and miss him and celebrate him for 31 days. And he says it made all the difference in his recovery. He was able to do that.
Yeah.
And we were also able to mitigate the issues around the family where, like, if everyone thinks he's like everyone's brother, like if everyone thinks they're family, then his biological family is going to get inundated. Right. And so now I have this front row seat because now I have a relationship with the family. I'm managing all this. And then he didn't have a will, no papers. So then his oldest estranged son, right, through the love, but like not in the life day to day, was trying to step in because he was the one that should be taking his father's, side. Family out of state. Like, there was all the best friends who lived nearby. Like, who had authority to say anything about this? It became, I had a front row seat to messy and trying to navigate and also trying to stay out of it because it's none of my damn business. And at the same time, I love them and saying, okay, check with your experts, check with your lawyers, make sure that what's happening is up on the up and up. And eventually it all righted itself. Ended up, he, like I said, he woke up 31 days later.
Wow.
But that may not have been the case. That might have been, it. And there was a lot at stake, and we don't think about that. Like, again, does he have anything? I don't know, but he does have kids. He does have a legacy. He has a family that loves him. He has 700 people who love him, who have been part of his community. And so we don't think about that. We don't think about, like, it's not just about dying, that it's about that moment. If you got COVID tomorrow, which is very possible, right? Because we know that the surges are coming back up and all the business.
Right.
For some people, it's not a good move. It's a really, really difficult one. It's problematic. And we know we lost a lot of people to COVID. So we keep thinking it's about this predictable something, but it's not about predictable anything.
Right.
And so that to me was the big lesson. And that came from my own experience where, I went through my own personal trauma and it just felt so helpless. I wanted to be helpful, but the grief is so great that you don't even know where you stand and you don't know how to be helpful. And what I'm saying is the way you can be helpful is get your will done now. Finish it now. And don't punish the next generation to have to unearth, where are the keys? Did she have an office? Wait, what is, right? Like, I didn't even know that they sewed. Oh my God, what did they save in this folder? Like, oh, can you even imagine? With
some of the complexities, as I'm reflecting on my own life, as you're talking, the complexities of, I have 3 laptops. I have an iMac at home. They all have sort of different purposes. Does anyone know what the purpose is between the HP laptop and the MacBook at home, or the iMac sitting on my dresser? And what is different about them, and where do I save things, and do I have a notebook with like passwords and locations? And we just went through this whole, my daughter and I have got all of this new health insurance. We're transferring over all of our health insurance November 1st to a new company. And at 10 years old, is she going to know the passwords? No, she's not. So how am I going to make sure that my young daughter, who's under 18 years of age, has something to guide her, to guide, the powers that be that are going to be helping to direct her life if I'm not able to do so? At this point in time, it'll, my parents will definitely step in, and how can I help them determine the best thing for my daughter? What are my wishes for her? if they could even figure out if I had life insurance, if,
Right.
if she has medical insurance, because there's oftentimes not conversations that we have with people outside of our, our partners or ourselves, and
You're a single mom. Who are
I'm
you?
a single
Who's the
mom.
other adult that you're telling
Right.
this to? And I mean, that's a really great point to go down as well, is that the older generations saw wealth and the discussion of money and even health in very different ways. And they kept a lot to
Right.
themselves. We also have to think of our rate of technology in our day and age, right? So I'm 53.
Correct.
I was born in 1970. I'm a Gen Xer. And so I'm the generation who was both like left out with a key and like figure it out at age 9.
Yep.
And, and also pretty proficient in technology. I feel rather competent. I'm a certified virtual producer. I do a lot of these things. I love engagement and staying very current. But not everybody's in that space. And we are about to inherit the largest transfer of wealth. There's a lot of discussion. Some people say, no, that we're not, or yes, we are, or how do you do it? But the bottom line is that something is happening because our generation is going to pass away. That is inevitable.
Right.
And we're not equipped. We're not equipping our kids. Your child does not have legal rights to talk about that. So what are you going to put in place? Again, get the basic will done. So at least it's clear. And then if you don't have time, then go and sit down and do the bigger heavy lifting, secondly, and just update the will.
Right.
But get the basic will done and tell her about it.
Have that conversation about, generational responsibility.
It's hard.
Yes, right? It is hard. I remember, even today when I ask my parents about, what do they have in place for their, their end of life plans. And it's hard to say that to your parents. I saw the look on my mom's face when I asked her that not too long ago, because I just wanted to check in with her to ensure, she's got it locked away in a safe, and who has access to that, and how can I find access to that, and the whole time I was asking these questions and having this conversation with her, I could see how uncomfortable she was. I can see that it instantly made her sad, and that wasn't my intention.
Well, the thing is that why do we believe that the conversation would be without emotion? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's the piece we're combating, right? So in the past, it felt like bad luck. People didn't want to deal with it. The reality is that, like, I had the conversation with my parents, my mom's going to turn 80 next year. And we were talking about her body and her care and all the things that are going on. She's very independent. She started, she's to me, a pioneer. She left Colombia. Her father had died. She got here on her own. She's always made it. She's a tough woman. She loves her plants. She's a farmer, all those things. And my goal is to keep her as independent as possible. But I said, what are we looking at? Even at 15 years of life from now, that's 95, right? That's 95. So there's a reality there that the only thing we're doing is just simply turning away from. And so the goal is, right, to keep them healthy. What do you want? What are the limits to which you want to be like? It is hard, but it's not, because the other side of it is you could be spending 3 years making that decision while somebody you care about's on a machine because your sibling disagrees and there's no paperwork. Right. And then the estate is dwindling because you're paying. So that was the cost. You're paying for an attorney. You're paying for time. You might offset some costs to each other because it hasn't been done. You're paying for the hospital. You're paying for. We're really not thinking this through the correct lens. Success inventory, living document. How do we make sure that if you've worked this hard to earn $1, that the whole dollar is delivered into the right places versus 30%, 30 cents on the dollar being spent on fees and costs and time, probably more if you factor in time. Right.
Tell us, Jo, what has made you so passionate about this topic besides your experience with your friend Tony, your experience with your own family? How are you able to, if you infuse your passion in me all the time in regards to this particular topic, how can we help our listeners really sort of let go of that fear? I don't know, in sort of a final words of, letting go of the fear, embracing your, your success list, and being smart about this, and taking care of those who love you so much. Like where did you find your passion to really get involved in the work that you do, and your continuous love of sharing this with your audience? Where does that come from?
It comes from the same place that everybody else has here. I love you. I love people. I love your journey. I love where we're going. And being a first generation American, working within the deaf community, being in places with marginalized people, we see it that not everybody's getting all the information. And that became part of my bigger overarching mission. I asked my husband in one of the business exercises, what would you say is my thing? And he says, you want to make things better. And so that drive, one. Two, my little brown girl, the me from being younger, didn't know what was going on. And I hated that feeling. I hated not knowing. I felt stupid. I felt like everybody else knew. And so I decided to put no barriers between what I know and what I want to share with other people. Third is, and this is a hard one, is that you are valuable. You are the thing of value. A will is not about that chair. It's not even about the phone. It's about you and the meaning that you have, even if you're struggling to see it. The reality is that it is about you. You are such an important piece of all of our lives. The things that you're doing, small, big, whether you're dropping off food to that elderly person, caring for your own family, you're the person who brings the snacks on Fridays at the business, whatever you're doing, carpool for the school, whatever it is. You're running a business, you have employees under you, whatever that piece is, you are a part of it. And by not talking about it, we see especially marginalized communities, people of color, people with disabilities, finding themselves without any protection. And you can change that. You can change that by making a very basic will and making sure that your family, at the very least, has the first step in protecting themselves. If it's that easy, how could we deny the future generations that legacy? Even if the only legacy you leave is a clear one, if that's if air quotes, the only thing, it's not the only thing. But by doing that, you will change the future. Oh, and for my type A personalities, you can also control the future. So for those who want the decision making to be out of someone else's hands, that is this can go deep with trust and expectations and how things work. It can go deep, but at its core, and this is hard for people, you need to love yourself and say, I am of value. There are people before me, and I'm going to help them create a legacy that's going to make sense to my life so that I'm not a victim of no blueprint and spending my hard life and being derailed out of my career. So many of us are starting second and third careers at this stage, right? The next chapters.
Exactly.
You don't want to be derailed. So think of even as through the lens of the executor. If I'm doing this for my folks, what do I need to make sure that this is working? And then rinse and repeat.
Right. Pay it forward.
Pay it forward.
Thank you so very much, JO Welch, author, speaker, the Will Fairy, the beneficiary's best friend. It is always a great pleasure to interact with you, to learn from you, to have you share your expertise and your passion and your story. If there are any further questions from those of you who are watching us live and who will be watching the replay, please feel free to post them, in the chat so that we can get back to you. We will most definitely do so. I pride myself on being able to get back to everyone who posts that you want information. So if you want to get more information on No Excuses, Finish Your Will Now, or about JO Welch, put in there more info and we will make sure to reach out to you. Both of us will be tagged on this live video that is going to be on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn. And then, of course, also on our Empowerment Empire YouTube channel. Make sure that you go to jowelch.com, women'sempowermentcoach.us for all of my stuff. These conversations that we have on a monthly basis here at the International Women in Business Mastermind is designed to share information that we have learned personally through our own experiences, through educating ourselves, through learning from others that came before us. That goal is to really share the insights that we can with you to help make your life even better. You know, our mantra here over at the Empowerment Empire is through collective collaboration, we all rise. And I truly, truly believe that by working together and sharing the information that we learn, we are able to help one another create better lives for ourselves. And then in turn, we are able to then create better lives for our amazing families and for our children. We're able to make smarter decisions and live more intentional. So thank you very much to our very special super guest, JO Welch. And thank you for participating.
Thank you, everybody. I look forward to being in touch. You can find me just jowelch.com, and it'll keep you abreast of the timeline for the book. It's going to keep you abreast of the timeline for a summit, which is in January 2024. And then also the programs that are coming up, because I've had a chance to test them out and I cannot wait to share them with you. So much love to you. Remember, you're the thing of value. I love you, and I cannot wait to hear about your success.
Thank you so much, Jo. And everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your day and have a great rest of your beautiful year. Make sure you are planning for future successes.